I love, love, love the music. Love, love, love that we have an opportunity to celebrate a whole brand new month. And so as we follow the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is international theme for each month, we enter into a new one called Celebrating Science of Mind Through the Holy Days. And so that gives you a hint that we're going to be focusing on various holy days. And today, this is a good time for us to move gently, powerfully, but peacefully into the preparation for all of the holiness that is to follow. And sometimes it feels like holy days, D-A-Z-E. And we want to move that to the holy days, D-A-Y-S. So today is our quote is from Ernest Holmes. You've heard of him. He is the founder of our wonderful movement. The unity of the Spirit is kept through the bonds of peace. Other than peace suggests confusion and separation. The Spirit is a perfect unit, and we harmonize with this unity when we maintain a state of peace in our minds. A state of peace in our minds. Can you imagine moving through all these beautiful new expressions of light and love and laughter and busyness in a consciousness of peace? Knowing that everything that we participate in as we're moving through these beautiful events can be done with serenity. We can feel a tranquility as we're also feeling excitement and joy and delight. There's a lot of external distraction and diversion. It's already begun. Before Halloween, did you notice we were having Christmas carols? That's okay. I don't mind that. As a matter of fact, the things that happen out in the world, we feel sometimes as though these conditions are beyond us. There's nothing we can do about what's happening out there. Things get crazy. What are we going to do? In our Declaration of Principles, one of the things Ernest Holmes stated is that we can have control over conditions. Really? This is what Reverend Mike and I were speaking about this at breakfast this morning. We were talking about the control of conditions, and what we came to realize, we believe, is that it can appear that we have control of conditions once our consciousness is transformed. Our consciousness is transformed so that we're not annoyed by or afraid of the conditions that we see going on in the world, all the distractions, all the how are we going to get all this done. When we remove ourselves from that long enough to transform our consciousness and realize that there is an underlying harmony in this universe, therefore in each of our lives, then it can appear as though we have control over the conditions because we're not affected by them anymore. We've come to up to a higher place, as we were singing earlier. When we come up into that higher place of the consciousness of knowing that we are part of a living spirit which brought us into being to begin with, and is harmony itself and power itself in the good kind of way, because what we know is that we're not interested in the love of power, but the power of love. And the power of love is indeed an expression of the presence of God itself. And it dwells within each one of us, and we have access to it. So sure, there's a lot of fun out there. And we want to have fun, but we don't have to get into frustration while we're experiencing that. The holiday sparkle is wonderful. Don't you love all the lights? When Reverend Mike and I were in Kansas City, Mo, with my son just the other day, we're up on the 6th floor of the hotel looking down on the plaza. I don't know how many of you have been to the plaza in Kansas City, but at 6:59, I think it was, on Thanksgiving evening, boom, all the lights go on in the entire plaza and the fireworks go up. That's how they celebrate Thanksgiving in Missouri. It was wonderful. And we were above it, and yet they were coming right up in front of the window, and the lights were fabulous. Every time we see lights around us, our own Christmas tree right here, just going down the street, you can see lights everywhere. You go up to the mall, oh my goodness, everything is bright and shiny. Can those lights not remind us of the inner light of wisdom that dwells within us all? Can those lights not get us aware that we are connected with and are one with that brilliant light, the Christ within, that is being reborn this time of year? And as we do, we realize we're not only connected with the divine, but since we're all part of the one, we're connected with each other. Therefore, when we are in the hustle bustle of a crowd, we can feel the joy of just moving along with a sea of humanity, a divine humanity, moving along with it and allowing ourselves to feel one with, instead of feeling as though, oh, somebody just jostled me. So what? That's a jolly jostle. As we change our consciousness, the conditions around us instantly change. And that's so much about what this teaching is about. It is possible to enter into this precious season of love with grace and allow ourselves to move through it serenely. This is what I always like to share with us this time of year, as we're really getting into the beautiful thick of things. And last year, and often this time of the year, I will do a little workshop after our celebration about coping with the holidays. And we don't have that scheduled today, so I'm just going to do it during my talk. How about that? Okay, good. So I start out with, it's beginning to look a lot like, oh my God, I haven't begun to shop, decide what to bake, write and mail Christmas cards and greeting cards and send invitations to that party and plan the menus and decorate the house and buy the gifts, schedule the outings for visitors, make dinner reservations, clean the guest room, purchase new towels, or call the babysitter or the pet sitter. Welcome to the holy days rather than the holly days. So what are we celebrating? And how are we maintaining our peaceful center? And what is your vision of a lovely holiday? It's wonderful to begin everything with a clear vision of what our heart desires. What would you like it to be, instead of just going along with, well, this is what they want and this is what they expect. This has always been the tradition, so of course we have to do this whether I want to or not, or feel like I have time to do it or not. Instead, let's include, what is our vision as we begin? Does it include family, friends, music, parties, gifts, worship? Do we wish to have a free flow of activity included in every day of our lives? Can you imagine just for a moment, moving gracefully through the coming days? Whatever your plans may be, even if you haven't made the plans yet, can you imagine moving gracefully through the coming days? And another good question to ask ourselves is, how would I like to feel as the holidays come to a conclusion? Would I like to feel more deeply connected with the living Spirit? Would I like to feel that I have somehow rebirthed this divine presence within me? Would I like to feel more sweetly connected with my family and friends because I've been willing to see who they truly are in every gathering? Would I like to see strangers on the street and realize there is a divinity within them, and the divinity within me recognizes and celebrates and honors and cherishes that divinity? How would we like to feel during and after these holidays? It's also a good idea just to take a look to see, are there any leftover unhealthy patterns for me that tend to be hooked up with holidays? For instance, do we ever slip into, I have to do this all by myself? Do I have to do this and no one else is going to, because it's my responsibility. I'm the one that has to bring Santa down the chimney. If I don't do it, no one's going to do it, and the man in the red suit's not going to show up. And they'll all be so disappointed. So I have to do it. Anybody ever enter into anything? Don't put your hands up. I used to do that, and I got over it because I realized that there is a power within me that's greater than I am, and it's right where I am. And it is so much better at accomplishing things by means of me than if I tried to do it by my own hand. So I'd like to look at some of those patterns. Do I have unrealistic expectations that just might wind up with some sense of disappointment? Isn't it interesting? The holidays are all joyful, and I can remember a man saying to his daughter when she broke her toy on Christmas morning, "Children aren't supposed to cry on Christmas. If you break your toy, you're gonna cry," right? So we want to be real with our feelings at the same time that we know they don't have to last, remember? And it came to pass. This too shall pass, the great master teacher told us. So you break your toy, so what? There's something else that's just even more wonderful than that. And it might be pie, I don't know. But it seems as though because of the fact that we set up these unrealistic expectations, of the what's his name that used to do all the paintings and the Norman Rockwell. See, I depend on you. The Norman Rockwell Christmas. Does anybody still expect that? Let's get over it. It can be more wonderful than that. It's not going to be picture perfect the way we used to think it had to be on the magazine covers. It's going to be more perfect because it's going to be real. It's going to be yours. It's going to be your loved ones all together, being real and authentic with each other and loving each other in your own special way. Are there concerns about overspending, about overdoing, about undersleeping? Let's get over that right now. This is only December 1st. We have an opportunity to move with more grace and more confidence and more serenity and more joy. It's the little things. And we can decide to do things differently. Just because we always sent out cards to a list this big by a certain date doesn't mean that you can't send Valentine cards instead. Let's ease up on ourselves a little bit and make it a holy day. Make it a precious time. If you like to cook and bake, and I do. My daughter, with whom we'll be spending Christmas in Boca Raton, Thanksgiving in Kansas City, Christmas in Boca Raton. It won't be a white Christmas. That's okay. But she's already said, "Mom, I will be willing to receive any baked goods that you send ahead of time, and I'll put them in the freezer until you get here." Well, yes, I'm going to do that, of course. But don't forget, on the Sunday before Christmas, which will be the 22nd this month, that you get a Swedish tea ring that I baked too on that morning. So make sure you show up on the 22nd of December. And yes, I do the cookies. That's something I had to make a conscious choice about. It takes a lot of extra time, but I love to do it. So it's a tradition I have chosen not to let go of. There are others that I have chosen to let go of. Many years ago, I baked and sent fruitcakes all around the country. They were good fruitcakes. They were not the kind you use for doorstops, I promise. They were the best. And people anticipated and demanded them. I stopped that foolishness. And so we get to choose. Let's make some conscious choices about how we're going to apply our love and our creativity and our energy. And as we do, we feel freer. Don't we want to have a good time this holiday time too, and not just make it about everybody else? Because otherwise, people can begin to develop, what is that R word? Resentment. Look after all I've done, right? Let's not get into that. Let's enjoy ourselves and have an opportunity to really, really have fun, whatever it is that we're doing, and not feel that it's a duty. We can look at what we've always done, what we need to do, what we want to do. My son reminded me that when he was little, of course, my beloved Barney, Earl D. Barnum, who was like a second papa to me, and I took all my lessons with him as I was growing up. Of course, all three of my kids were christened by Barney. And Jim reminded me just the other day that Barney once told him that that need is a four-letter word. We don't want to get into I need. I choose, yes. Even I want is a step up from I need. But we don't need to do all the things we thought we always had to do. Is that a new idea? Let it be a good idea. Let it be something that we ruminate on and make some really good decisions about, because you are a co-creator with the living Spirit of God. And your choice and my choice has everything to do with how much peace we have in our lives, how much joy we're able to experience, because we get to choose. That's what this wonderful sense of the peaceful holiday preparation is really about. You and I get to choose. We don't need to just go along like little automatons. We were not created to be robots. We were created to make choice and to use the power within us for good. So let's look to see what feels like a duty. If it feels like a duty, I think it's worth taking a second look at. Because the more important question is, what are you thinking about, Jeff? What do you think you have to do? A lot of stuff, yeah. Okay. Well, so keep listening. You might get a good idea. Here's a better question. Rather than what's my duty, what makes my heart sing? What makes my heart sing? I am so delighted that when granddaughter Stephanie arrives at midnight Friday, and we go out to the tree farm to get our tree, and we bring it home, that Reverend Mike's joy, one of his great joys on Christmas, is to string 900 lights on the tree. I'm so grateful, because that's not what makes my heart sing. I'll be making cookies, Swedish tea ring, but not stringing lights on the tree. So what makes your heart sing? What are some of the most joyful things about the holiday season that you really do love to enter into? And what, if anything, are you willing to change? But I've always done it that way. My grandmother did it that way. My mother did it that way. I'll have to do. No, you don't. You can change. Isn't that wonderful? We have this great power of choice. And here's another thing, another question, a really important question. How are you taking care of yourself? Are you breathing deeply throughout the day? Have you ever noticed sometimes when you really, he's the poster boy for this. When you really get involved with everything, sometimes you realize, oh, I haven't been breathing. Stop and take a deep, holy breath and experience that life flowing once again through you. Because that infinite intelligence, that divine love of God, moves through our bodies as we relax and invite it and allow it to move through us. And as it does, we surrender to something greater than we are, and we rest, and we allow that divine presence to do whatever needs to be done through us. So we can put our hand on our hearts and remember, in putting our hands on our hearts, that God is closer than breath, nearer than hands and feet. We can never be outside of that divine presence. When we get ourselves all in a whirl about things, we feel like we're outside, but we can't be. So let's just relax and come back into that beautiful awareness that we dip deeply into the presence. that presence of divine love that's always embracing us, always saying, relax, let me do this through you. Let me do it through you. We relax into a holy hug, and then we listen for the guidance from infinite wisdom. We trust it. We follow it. Are you willing to enter with me into a peaceful, productive holiday season that's great fun for everyone, that might involve new traditions, that might involve relaxing more, having a good time, not doing everything you thought you always had to do, and what you do because your heart is singing for you to do that. Are you willing to do that with me? I'm willing to do that with you. I want to make a commitment to you as well, because this is a precious time. It's a holy time. And we are about the business, the God business, of allowing the divine to be reborn in us. And the lights that we see remind us that the divine light within burns constantly, brightly, awakening us to who we truly are. The beloved within the heart of God itself. Let's keep the high watch together. Let's establish a healthy, heartfelt celebration of the divine in every day of our lives. Will you say with me, I choose to enter into this holy season with love and wisdom. I allow Spirit to nurture and guide me gently and powerfully as I move through each divine activity. And so, my beloveds, beginneth your lesson. Thank you.